one of the things when I am training those top level executives, and that kind of training is by themselves. They won't sit with their
Mhm.
underlings, and that's unfortunate because the most successful companies are the ones that that have the top level management participating with his staff. But okay, a lot of these people are uh, are trained individually. And one of the things that I talk to them about is always surrounding themselves and hiring out people who are better skilled and smarter in in some avenues than they are, because it is imperative that they pull from and draw from all the other people around them who don't have the expertise that they have.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid to say they don't know something, but you really have to, the imposter syndrome and all that. But
Yeah.
you hear a lot about that. So I think that, I guess my experience with leadership has been a combination. I've seen ones who really get it, and like Keith, I mentioned earlier, who surround themselves with people who all know amazing things. And then there's those who isolate themselves. I worked in a company where all the leaders sat on the top floor. You couldn't go up there without a key, and
Oh,
you
yeah,
weren't a
I've seen
leader.
those. Yes, exactly. I've
And I'm
seen
like,
those.
what message is that sending? You know what I mean? Talk about what you want to say, who you want to talk to, who your audience is, and what your message you're sending. That's a pretty intense message, I thought.
That says it all.
Yeah.
It it's just like when I was training a president of a company in New York, and he had an office. It wasn't a Fortune 500 company, but it was a very, very prosperous company. And he had in his office, he had a very high chair. And when you walked in, he had a very high desk,
Mhm.
and he was a
So
short
he's
guy.
bigger than all you guys that would come in, right?
When you walked in,
Uh-huh.
we who were talking to him were sitting on little puny couches
So,
right in front of him. And I told him the size differentiation makes a difference. And
mhm.
he said, "Oh, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous." I said, "Come around the desk and sit with everybody." He was having a management problem. Everybody couldn't
Uh-huh.
stand his leadership. So I said, "Come around the desk and sit in front of your desk on the same level as everybody else." Do you know productivity started to rise?
Yeah, that's a huge thing. It's making people feel like there's so many leaders who want to feel like that they're the big guy and you or gal, and they have to make you feel like they are. And I think that's a really bad
Uh,
sense to give people. But as you're telling that story, it made me think of that time when you had to have them redo your video from you were filmed here in Arizona and they put you in that chair. Do you remember that?
that's another example. They put me behind a table. This was so poorly planned out. They put me behind a table on a little tiny, like, kindergarten chair, you know? And here's the interviewer on the and
Oh, that's so funny.
they said themselves. I didn't say. Usually, when I see the height differential,
Hmm.
I will ask for a pillow. I mean, I will definitely want to be on the same level, but I
Uh-huh.
have training that they don't have. So,
Uh-huh.
okay. So I would ask for a pillow. But here, I felt so I couldn't even make my points. I felt like I should be talking in a squeaky voice.
Uh-huh.
But they saw
Uh-huh.
how inept they looked
Yeah.
as a network, and they reshot the entire thing. They said, "Look, I hope you don't mind staying for a while longer." And what came out as a result was, oh, magnificent
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
comparison to that other little puny chair that they gave me.
Yeah, yeah.
But people ought to know what they're doing when they are setting up a set, and they often don't.
You really have to look at it through the lens of the camera. And I think sometimes they set it up and then they don't go back to look, and they have two different people doing things. You know what I mean? And I, I don't know. I've seen some pretty good setups where they've done a great job, and then I've seen
Well,
others not so
I'm
good.
I'm making this. I'm calling attention to this right now because this can happen to anybody. They say, okay, you will sit here, you will sit there. If I'm talking to the audience now, if for any reason you recognize that you are sitting down here and the interviewer is sitting up above, ask for a pillow, ask for a change, ask for a different chair, whatever it takes for you to deliver your greatest 3 minutes, because that's all you have. And the audience will not know that it was the chair differential between the two of you and just look upon you as God, God awful. That's the worst interview I've ever seen. And that person isn't empowered to know her stuff. I mean, this is your stuff, bottom line. It's like you are walking into a TV set with your resume. This is your resume.